How's it going, guys? This is Trey Bell, and this is Arcane Frequencies. So, I'm just going to start with a simple, plain introduction. This is going to be my first YouTube video under this name, and I came up with this idea this idea has kind of always been something lingering in the back of my head for years and years of wanting to make YouTube videos on something. My first actual YouTube video was when I was a kid, about 13. I just wanted to rap, and I call it TXB Raps, but never really went anywhere high school days. But for me, I've always just been very passionate about music, specifically music that not a lot of people probably have ever listened to. So today I'm going to be reviewing an album called Dog Blood Rises by one of my favorite bands, Current 93. And Current 93 and bands like this, they've been around since the 80s and 70s, when it came to the whole neo-folk industrial movement in the UK and Britain or something like that. And ever since I discovered this type of music, I never saw that much reviews or just any information about this band on YouTube or just in general, because they make very weird, out there, arcane music, and hence the reason why I call this Arcane Frequencies. I want to delve into making analysis videos and even just kind of vlogging my life and experiences of what I feel music that's impacted me the most. And when it comes to very obscure music, it always resonated with me. I'm into lots of different types of music, so for me, I want to get as much out of music as I can in this life, and that's why I'm you know what? If I'm this passionate about music, I need to start making music reviews. Shout outs to Anthony Fantano, The Needle Drop, for paving ways, and Pitchfork 2, just anybody who does reaction videos, music reviews. I you guys are awesome, and I feel we need more people like that on this platform to have the certain niches that people aren't getting. I can go to Anthony for a myriad of things, and I can go to this one reaction video, maybe Sean C, for his opinions about albums, and see him just rock out. And I want to do that too. I want to be part of that culture, but I also want to bring in a new aspect to it where we're actually diving into some very obscure stuff that you won't hear in the mainstream. And even if it's slightly there, then I don't know, I just kind of want to bring more attention to these bands that have been around for a while, but there's not a lot of things to go off of when it comes to their videos. I know Anthony has reviewed a Current 93 album, and when I saw that, I was like, dude, finally someone of his stature is actually reviewing this band, because this band is amazing. It's weird, it's out there. I'm dude, this music needs more recognition, because whether industrial and obscure music, even though it's definitely probably more underground than underground music, it still has an importance of what it has done, cultivated a lot of bands that you love in today. And so I want to dive more and actually have a place where we can actually have discussions and talk about these particular bands. Specifically, the foundation for this channel, I want it to be, I want it to revolve around more of the music where it's very occult related, so bands like Current 93 that has a lot of ties in with a lot of cult stuff, Aleister Crowley. I even want to get into subject matters like that maybe in the future. Who knows? This channel could go a lot of different ways. Probably review a painting one day. Who knows? But all I want to do is just start reviewing things that I feel have not gotten the recognition that it should, and introduce you guys to things that you probably never liked, because honestly, I was just given the gift as a person to want to explore different things that was outside my comfort zone. And once I did that, I started expanding my comfort zone, and I can relate to a lot of different people. So I whoever wants to come along with me in this journey, hey, come along if you want. And I overall, I just really kind of just want to journal my music experience that I've been, involved in for, 25 years of my life. And specifically at the age of 10 is when I started getting really deep into music. But, you know, with that said, I'm not going to talk on too much. Let's get into this review. Current 93, Dog Blood Rises. Oh, man, I got to get out my notes. This album. Well, first thing I can really honestly say about this album was, so let's just start an introduction of how I even got into this type of music. Back in 2015, when I think it was like 20, finished my freshman year of college, and went back to Illinois to stay with my grandma at the time period when she was living there. Because like my family had just moved from our hometown to Georgia, where I'm living at right now, ATL. But I've always, like I said, I've always been really into music, and one thing that I always loved doing was just going to record stores. And around the time where I was about to leave to go to college, like I started like actually exploring my town more. Like I lived in Bloomington, Illinois, a little small town, and we had once I started like actually socializing more with like people and kind of being less introverted, I started discovering like things in my town that I never seen before. And like I started going to this one record shop because I really started getting into records around like this time period of my life once I was about to leave high school. And I started making a record collection, and this was a record shop that I went to frequently because it was my first introduction to records in general. And I'll have to say, during the summer 2015, I just happened to go into this record shop. It's called, I'm trying to remember. It was called I can't remember what the name of that record store was. I don't know. I'll look it up later. I'll probably insert it here somewhere. But it overall, the main thing that day, I think I was just like probably going through like the indie section, the hip hop section. My primary loves of music, hip hop, indie. But I kind of wanted to take a chance and actually go even more out there. And that started when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go into the experimental section. My number one favorite band is Death Grips, and definitely in the future, I'm going to do a bunch of Death Grips videos and review all the albums and just fan out over like this band, because like this is what got me into like loving strange music. But I'm not gonna get too intense about that. Save it for another video. So I decided to actually want to check out the experimental section in the record store. And back then, when I always wanted to find weird music, I always based it off the album cover. And when I looked at this one particular, and it actually, the funny thing was, there really wasn't any records for the experimental section. It was just a bunch of cassette tapes. And so when I looked in the area, and this is probably why I never really visited that much, is because like it's just little CDs and cassette tapes. So I'm like, all right, this stuff is very out there, very niche, that they don't really get full records. So I was just looking through, and then I see this one cassette tape that interests me, and it was a Current 93 cassette. And actually, hold up, I'm gonna look this up, figure out what the actual name for it was. Oh yes, I remember. It's the cassette tape for I Have a Special Plan for This World. And I just remember looking at the cover and the cover art, and was just like, that is strange. Let me check this band out. Current 93, experimental area. Let's see what this is about. And so I went to Spotify, which is something that I do a lot whenever I discover a band in a record store or just somewhere else miscellaneous, and see what the discography is like. And I saw this and was just like, okay, wow. They have a lot of stuff, but I don't see this specific one, because I did want to like actually listen to that specific cassette. I Have a Special Plan for This World. And the one thing that I realized, like, well, this specific album or project, which I didn't know it was just like, a 22-minute long like sequence of just speaking and weird noises at the time. But I didn't know it wasn't on Spotify, so I was just like, all right, well, they must not have everything of Current 93 on Spotify. So that's like, once I got home, that's when I started doing my research, and trust, and I'll stop bantering on soon. I just need to like kind of give you the introduction of like, this part of my life, because like, getting into this type of music, like neo folk, culture s type of music, the weird stuff out there, it was a dense experience. So this is gonna be the groundwork for this channel. It was like Current 93. Thank you, David Tibet. He's not dead, just wherever he's at out in the world. But yeah, I just remember like just going through their catalog, and I think I actually Googled their name to see if I could find more information on them, because I knew like even though I didn't listen to experimental music that much at the time, I knew that experimental artists, like they operate a little bit differently and have more of a closed off community. And that's what I kind of got from the get-go when it came to this specific band, because I'm just like, once I just like found their website, I was like, this is their whole discography. This is 100 fucking albums. What the hell? How much shit do they have? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, what? I had never seen anything like this before. I was like, how does a band have this much projects? I mean, of course they've been around since the 80s, but still, like, they were like, this was my first experience with a band that was this prolific. I don't think I really experienced a band this prolific ever. I mean, like, of Montreal, it's pretty close, because I definitely was listening to Montreal at the time, and like, they're definitely out there too, and like, I'll definitely review their music too in the future. But dude, I was like, this is an expansive catalog. So I was just like, okay, let's do this. And so I did my research at Wikipedia, everything that I could find about this band. And the main thing that I was just aware of, I'm like, this band is just on some other shit. And even at the time period, I knew I was not going to be able to digest all their music, like, at this time period in my life, because, I still was, like, very, I still was into more of the contemporary music. I still liked the rap that was going on during that time period, but, again, I knew with this band, like, I need a different type of focused mind to fully indulge in their music, because, like, most of Current 93's music, and anyone like them, whether Death in June, Psychic TV, and anything Genesis Peorage has been a part of, rest in peace, this is, like, that whole atmosphere is, like, that's on some other level, and that's gonna take almost, like, years for me to fully even, feel appropriate to even, like, analyze, because, like, at the time, I just, like, my mind liked it because it was weird, but it was definitely too far out there for me to even, like, try to, like, get a good grasp of, like, what I was even listening to. But I knew that, like, I was gonna, like, put my passion for it on the back burner and, like, fully delve into it. And, honestly, with how gloom and apocalyptic a lot of Current 93's music is, and during these COVID times, I feel like it's probably appropriate for their music to have a little bit more recognition and bands like them. And, in the future, I definitely probably will do videos kind of just analyzing the band and that culture more. But, I don't want to do too much talking. I'm already going on probably like 15 minutes at this point. But I'm going to edit this down. And let's get into the review. Current 93, Dog Blood Rising. All right, let me get out my notes. So, and this, I'm not going to be overtly critical, honestly. I'm just kind of tell you exactly just my experience. I'm not going to rate it. Like, the needle drop. I like to like things as best as possible. Even if I don't, I still I want this channel to like introduce people to new things and things that, and like I think I already said this in the video, but I want you to be exposed to stuff, and I really feel like this music is interesting enough that, like, I want more people to hear it. Like, I don't want it to, of course, like, I know it's never going to get mainstream success because they never intended for that, but you know what? Someone out there, or someone who does listen to this band, especially someone in my age category, because this band has been around since the 80s, so most people who probably like this band are probably, a little bit, probably in their 50s or older, so, I feel like, and they'll probably even appreciate that someone my age too is like actually, reviewing a band like this. So, I feel for you guys out there, and I just want you guys to be able to watch a video where you can feel like you can relive your past, and also people who like weird stuff who feel like they can connect more with somebody who, is also into this, like, stuff too, because, like, it is out there. It is very, very challenging music. And Dog Blood Rises, oh my god, this album was one of the most scariest things I had ever heard in my whole entire life. Like, even scarier than Death Grip's music at the time period, because, like, industrial music was something I didn't really listen to a lot. I was vaguely aware of it throughout, like, certain aspects of my life, but until, like, Death Grips came into my life, I had no idea what experimental music was. But all I knew is that, like, once I started delving into indie music and alternative psychedelic stuff, I was just like, this is the next level. This is the hard drugs of music. Bands like Current 93, Death in June, and low-key at some point I might even have to get harder with fucking some black metal. That'll be for the future, though. I will try to review a black metal album, because I do want to get more into that too. But still, this album, after I had researched the band and found them on Spotify, I did realize that technically Dog Blood Rising, I think, is like their second album. Their first actual output as a band, I think, was what was it called? Nature Unveiled. Nature Unveiled, I kind of personally feel like was I feel like Dog Blood Rises and Nature Unveiled, they kind of both go hand in hand, because, like, they're both, like, very ambient, drony, and dark. Like, some of the most darkest sounds I had ever experienced at that point in my life. And honestly, like, I have to say, like, when I heard this, I immediately knew that I was listening to something that was just almost unexplainable, or, like, there was a lot of things about this album that I was just like, this is from, like, the early 80s, and this is still withholding this dark, ominous, like, just atmosphere, just sounds very occultic, satanic. It sounds like what I feel like The Exorcist would be, combined with Children of the Corn and any creepy, like, early 90s, 80s horror movie or some shit like that. Like, this album just was terrifying when I first heard it, and I'm just like, what in the world? And so, let's just start off with, like, and there's only, like, 5 songs, but some of the songs range from, literally the longest song is like 14 minutes long, so it's more of an experience album. And, like, this is also one of the first times I experienced, like, an album like this, where songs were this long and, like, you were meant to listen to it in a particular way. This isn't just like, go through one song, only 3 minutes, and, you either hit or miss. Like, no, you have to be totally in this whole entire experience. So, we'll get my notes out. So, the first song, Christus, Christus, The Shells Have Cracked. Pretty much, this is just, like, from the get-go, like, this song, the first part of this record, it's just intense droning noise, just like buzzing in and out. Honestly, in my personal opinion, this sounds like if like a beehive from hell like had a bunch of demonic bees in it, and just like they were just trying to like break free through some gate that someone from the show Supernatural had opened. That's kind of like what I envision, like, the beginning of this like album being. It's just like these demonic bees. It's just like zzz, 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 zzz. I'm like, and then back then, like I was just like, whoa, what is this? This is crazy. This is absolutely like intense, and it was just repetitive, and I'm like, okay, what is going on right now? Like, I mean, I've heard some some like ambient music before and instrumental music, but like I didn't really always listen to it a lot. But this was definitely one of the more extreme cases of me like enduring like an instrumental this abrasive that like it just captivated me to the point where I'm just like, whoa. And honestly, like, yeah, one of the darkest, scariest forms of music that I had ever heard at that point in my life. And from that point on, I was just hooked. I was just like, okay, what else does this have? What else does this album have to offer? And another sonic quality, just to get more technical with this review, like that I really liked about it, is like how the hymns, like these like orchestral, almost like Catholic like hymns are in the background of like these sounds, like kind of like still keeping things together in this like weird, dark esoteric way. But I like how like all those sounds are incorporated just like right in the right space, just to like be like, it's like you're kind of just going through this like weird crazy loop. And a lot of these sounds are also still incorporated throughout aspects of like the entire album. So, and that's one thing that Current 93 does a lot, whether it's sonically or lyrically. And I would have to say, yeah, this was, when it comes to an opening for an album, this is one of the most intense ones I've ever heard in my whole entire life. On to Falling Back in Fields of Rape. Yeah, you heard the title, Falling Back in Fields of Rape. That, I remember when I first saw that name, I was like, okay, but then the actual experience, I was like, whoa. I mean, and this is the song that is 14 minutes long. This is the longest, sonic experience from this album. And we're just gonna get right into it. Like, yeah, like shocking title. So I'm already like starting to realize like this band is on some. They're serious about whatever type of music they're making, because like this is cancel worthy stuff. Like, honestly, this is stuff I would not want to show people in this day and age. And I mean, honestly, this is a different time period, so like them talking about the subject matter is probably like, I mean, it was still probably visceral and like intent and like, very polarizing and controversial, but over time, like this is still a chilling song. And just to even just go into the concept of like how this is structured, this seems like it's like a 6-act type of like deal where the beginning of it is the ominous hymns that like were also pretty apparent within the first song, or like at least hymns kind of similar like them. That was something that kind of just was like continuous. At first I was like, is this like an instrumental album? But then once it got to the second act and we can start hearing David Tibet's words and his poetry, I was like, this is zany. This is unhinged. Like, what in the world is this? Like, I had never heard music like this before at the time period. And like, I was like, whoa, like some crazy, chaotic, like occult demonic poetry. What is he saying? Like, I mean, again, like the main striking aspect of the song is him repeatedly saying, falling back in fields of rape, falling back in fields of rape, my children. I'm like, what in the world is, like, I was like, dude, like, this is some questionable, like, should I be listening to this? Like, I literally had that, like, thought process. Sometimes I still have that thought process. I'm like, dude, should I be listening to this type of music? Like, they are not shying away from any subject matters, bro. But the thing that I do like about this song, other than like, of course I don't like rape. Yeah, that's not good. But what I do like about this song is that it does give you an intense depiction sonically of like, what horrors actually lie in this world when it does come to, just the tragic things that, human life can, endure. And and honestly, for most of current 93's music, I feel like it pretty much continues to touch upon these very apocalyptic, nihilistic themes regarding, all forms of religion, whether, or even Christianity, Buddhism, paganism, like a lot of paganism. I mean, hence, like most neo-folk music, I feel like revolves around paganistic aspects, which is also encompassed within the occult. But like honestly, anything of like that paranormal, spiritual nature, I feel like is occult, worthy to have that as an umbrella term for it. And yeah, it's just like it was like I would have to say this was very challenging for me to listen to when I first heard it, because I just remember just feeling like, what am I doing listening to this shit? Like, this is like, why does this exist? And so, yeah. And then as like it goes through all the different acts, there's one act where there's like this little girl saying like, singing like a lullaby, like, here we go around the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush. Here we go around the mulberry bush on a cold and frosty morning. I was just like, yeah, this. I mean, honestly, in a sense, this is pretty much like multiple songs in one, or multiple experiences in one. So it's just encapsulated in a 14-hour long experience. I mean, 14-minute long experience. Sorry, but I was just like, okay, this is where I started like appreciating like what they were going for, because I was just like, this is already off the bat a different experience. Like, I'm already fully affected by this band, and I just like I'm already locked in. And so from this point on, like, after that point, and then she's starting to say refrains that you hear in like the song a lot, which is actually, I'll bring up the lyrics. So, oh yeah, they even have it on Genius, like, sectioned in its different aspects of the acts. I always found these lyrics like very interesting. So, pretty much it starts off with, in a foreign town, in a foreign land, reaping time had come, in fields of swaying rape. I could not It could not happen here. Pushed to one side with the flick of a wrist, out of sight and out of mind, falling back in fields of rape. And yellow heads a blossom, mothers, babies bleeding. You stand there laughing, unquestioning, unconfronting. Poetic lines on the art of dying, falling back in fields of rape. That was the way. Those were the horrors. As daddy went a reaping, and nodding heads of rape. No mark on your spotless conscience, no blemish on your immaculate body, untouched by sight or sound of misery. Close the eyes, shift the responsibility. It was not you. It was not you. Falling back in fields of rape. My children, falling back in fields of rape. It could not happen here. Pushed to one side with a flick of the wrist, out of sight and out of mind, falling back in fields of rape. Poetic lines of art of dying, and it just kind of just goes on into a bunch of other insanity. Like, honestly, like, I can analyze those lyrics all day, but just to kind of get the gist of like what I feel like this particular song is about, and because it is the most longest and the more it just has a lot of like things to unpack in it. I mean, obviously we already know that like current 93 and most of David Tibet's work is based off like a lot of nihilism, contemplation of esotericness and aspects within Christianity, paganism, and anything that has to do with like that subject matter, and like I definitely want to start like learning more of those terminologies like as I continue with this channel, because like part of me making this channel is kind of just to like be able to like talk about this these artists more, and like be able to have whole better conversation of understanding their music, because like their music is also aligned with a lot of occult imagery and occult like concepts, which is kind of its own like rabbit hole and subject matter too, that you can like find a bunch of videos on YouTube. So like I kind of want to like interconnect as much as possible and like kind of grow my knowledge that I've always had since I was like a teenager about these subject matters. But I feel like this will be a good starting point to like kind of expand my mind when it comes to learning about all this stuff that I've been intrigued for years. So, and if anyone can like lead me to like any other interesting like bands or concepts dealing with the occult or anything in that era, like that cloth of interest, then let me know in the comment section. So yeah, I really feel like this is kind of a song about getting just the terrible things that can happen to a mass amount of people in a foreign town, in a foreign land. Like honestly, anything can be foreign to anyone if they never experienced it. And honestly, like these lyrics definitely can be really coincided with what's going on today. Reaping time has come in this world. Like, dude, like the world has been going through some dark things, and if anything, I feel like this album is exactly the representation of what 2020 is and was and continues to be throughout the rest of this decade. Like 2020 has set the marker for like what this decade is going to be like. And will it get better? Will it get worse? Who knows? All I know is that this album is the best apocalyptic like album for like this. Like honestly, this should be the soundtrack for 2020. Like this whole entire album. But either way, yeah, this is and then like as this is kind of the highlight of like this particular album. I really like. I feel like I can analyze this more and more, but like kind of just to cut it short, this really is just touching on like very intense concepts of nihilism, dying, death, what that experience is like, and just kind of those like dark thoughts in the back of everyone's head when it comes to like our inevitable end. And again, like I said, most of Current 93's music and other bands like this band usually touch on those subject matters in their own various ways. So again, which is probably why this music is not popular. Like this is like they're really about that life of like grimness, and probably not for dark reasons. I mean, maybe some definitely are, but like I do feel like David, in a way, he seems like he does this for therapeutic reasons, and honestly, him as a person, he seems like very kind of well, calm and collected. And the fact that he makes this music, is just total opposites. Even same thing for MC Ride. Like, I feel like, some of the most introverted and quiet people usually can come out with some of the most, like, polarizing pieces of art. And I would say this is definitely something to take note of, because it really does, like, he does evoke emotion in a way that, like, I don't really know any other artist can, at least, like, in this poetic type of sense where he's actually conveying like what the feelings of the hardships of life actually is. And even though this is definitely a more aggressive version of that, because the earlier aspects of Current 93's music is very aggressive, very industrial and dark, and just hardcore in a sense where it's just like you want to turn away from it. And then by the time they actually start transitioning into a more folkier and like more somewhat accessible sound, it still is creepy, but like it shows that like this is just a part of like what that counterculture was trying to do, and just like kind of just be right in your face, but like only if you wanted to. And so yeah, I would have to say a lot of things on here that like they when it comes to evoking emotion, like this album really, takes the cake. And then again, when it comes to like the other songs, like from Broken Cross, Locust, that's just a consistent refrain where he's just saying Antichrist, and then there's a sample of like some I don't know, I think it may be Latin. Most, like, I did research, it's possibly like Aleister Crowley's like recordings of like some of his like ritual magic ceremonies that he used to do. Like it's unknown like what the sample that they're using that's on a repetitive loop. It's just like it's something like "Oh, Zarivi, he do sota." The universe. I know I definitely did not pronounce any of that right, but just kind of get the feel. But I did research what the translation is, and it has something to do with you see us for what we are. Not exact translation, but it's the gist of like what that frame is saying. And actually this technically is my favorite Current 93 song from this specific album, because since most of their earlier stuff, all of their stuff technically still has like a bunch of long songs that are like past the 10-minute mark, but for me, I like this song because it's not that long. It's like the standard length. It's like 4 minutes. I can listen to it. I enjoy it. It's not overtly abrasive. It doesn't challenge my mind a lot. It just puts me. It's a very ominous and dark vibe, but I feel like it definitely kind of is calm enough where it orchestrates like what this album is about. And the whole refrain, and this is definitely one song that like kind of shows the Christianity aspect of David Tibet's music and mindset a little bit, because he is saying Antichrist and talking about Jesus a lot. And then even from this song to the next song, well, I guess like I don't know how to say what language this is, but I guess it just translates into Jesus Wept. So we're just gonna call that song Jesus Wept. So from that point on, like, so you can tell like this dude is also into other aspects of religion. I don't think he was an intense like occultist. He just probably was intrigued by it a lot, because his name is based off of like something that Aleister Crowley created, like 93 currents. I can't remember exactly what that represents or entail. Put in the description below. I will research it just to jog my memory. But David Tibet has claimed in interviews, which there are a rare amount of, like he barely has ever done interviews, but any content getting David Tibet to talk about his life or like his concept of like what he creates with Current 93, he does say that he's a Christian. So, which is kind of hard to tell, especially from his beginning work. But as you go through most of his music and as he calms down throughout the years and it's more subtle, you can tell he's definitely trying to give you a very particular interesting point of view of Christianity that, like, it's not overtly religious. It's just more kind of stating, like, again, arcane concepts that like not a lot of contemporary institutionalized Christians are probably aware of. Because Christianity and religion in general, I do feel it goes deeper than like what you see in the media. And again, that when it comes to like figuring that stuff out, I do feel like people should listen to albums like this and explore. There's a lot of weird shit out there, and people can make things very interesting. And as people, like, we're powerful people. We can make some very interesting things. And so pretty much that wraps up the whole entire album. And then the last song is St. Peter's Keys, All Bloody. Pretty much cap this video off. I'll just like read the lyrics to St. Peter's Keys, All Bloody. This is the ending of the first actual project of Current 93, at least one of the first projects in the beginning of like, the start of the career. And I feel like this kind of sets the tone for like what the rest of Current 93's music is going to be like, and also what the rest of anybody else who collaborates with him, and what it kind of just sets the tone of like what these artists were doing at the time period, and like the occultic underground with this type of music, and just the industrial like counterculture that they were doing. And so, hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to talk to you again because a vision softly and creeping crushed my mind while I was sleeping. And the vision, like silent cancer, stayed through nights and days. And there was the sound of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sound said, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls. And Encampment halls and echoed in the sounds of silence. I mean, like, it feels like he's talking to somebody, but it feels like he's talking to either Soul himself, like hello, like, I mean, in a sense, I do feel like it's himself, but like the dark, I mean, of course, it says like, hello, darkness, my old friend. So again, like this music is really showcasing what, humans, like, isolation is like, doom, misery, just like what the darkness of human life really is, like how it encapsulates itself in like your mind. And I feel like that is what a lot of these lyrics are about. And again, and it's also, and they also very tied with very occultic and just cult-like themes, whether it's like, for example, as I continue to read more of these lyrics, and in the back sounds, and honestly in the back sounds something like there's another person who's like chanting or like saying some stuff in a very like, hymn-like way. I'm low-key wondering if it's Douglas P. from Death in June, because Douglas P. and David Tibet actually worked a lot with each other at this point in time from like what I've heard. Unfortunately, they aren't friends anymore and won't work with each other, which I wonder why. But I'm gonna do more research on that. But yeah, but I would have to say is if like a lot of Death in June's work definitely was prominent in some of the earlier aspects of current 93, and vice versa too, and because like there definitely is like a lot of influence I can hear in some of Death in June's work that like David Tibet probably did input, because a lot of these people actually, like David Tibet, Genesis Peorage, Douglas P, Stapleton, Sleazy, all those people, and there's still people I'm still trying to learn their names and understand who they are. But for what the most part, most of the bands that I'm going to be talking about on this channel, they all were very interconnected with each other. So like I'll be referencing a lot of their names too when it comes to like, most of like my album reviews that I do of them. But all in all, like, again, I keep saying I'm gonna cap this off. Sorry, I'm a very bantery type of person, and forgive me. First video, I feel like I'll be able to get away with it, but overall, this was just fun. This I just kind of just want to like, I always just wanted to like just talk about this particular album, this particular band, and I want to continue and just kind of create an awesome, cool space for you guys and me, just to like, like just understand it even more, and just understand like why are we into this music? Because like this is very weird music. This is very particularly strange music, and it just resonates with me, and I've always liked these types of subject matters when it comes to the cult and more of the darker aspects of like religion and the apocalypse. Like I was growing up Christian as myself, actually I was always into the book of Revelation. So, and now we're living in some Revelation times, so I feel like I definitely equipped myself or prepared myself pretty good for our current day. But I'm gonna end this video and just kind of with these last lyrics of this song. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, encampment halls, and echoed in the sounds of silence. Now, today was actually the first day I actually read that lyric from this particular song, and it's the last song. It's only 2 minutes, and it made me realize like that is a dense, heavy, like, some words right there, because I feel like my interpretation of what that means is that we worship gods nowadays that are put towards us in the media, whether it's celebrities and fashion, this or that. Not to say nothing's wrong with anything, but we do, our gods nowadays, I feel like, are things that, like, yeah, you can write, like, the name of, like, Kanye West or Travis Scott on, like, a subway wall, and, like, people know who's that they are, and people probably actually even see them as gods. But, like, we have mounted to, like, have our gods be, other regular people. And, even without saying much, like, it shows that, like, even when he says neon god, in my head I'm thinking like an artificial god, a god that, like, is manufactured for us to worship. So it kind of leaves us, like, in this state of being, accustomed to the machine. And even, like, looking at current David Tibet's first interview, he definitely was a countercultural person, where he definitely was not interested in, like, the mainstream. And again, this album came out in 1984, and, like, that interview was around that time period too. So, like, his mindset definitely was kind of like your modern day, like, hipster beatnik type of, like, mentality, which, I definitely have participated in that mindset too, like, being a hipster and just, like, kind of, not compromising or, like, accommodating to societal norms. And overall, even other than the subject matters that they talk about, one thing I do know about David Tibet and people like him is that they want to fully experience, like, life for what it is, and, like, endure into, like, the actual experience of music, and use music as the tool to, experience these, like, spiritual things that most people feel like they're probably, like, guarded away from because of, like, the things society puts in your face to, like, not reach those higher elements of yourself. And so, like, it's like we're pretty much all slaves to, what media gives us. And honestly, even to this day, I feel like those words still ring true. And, yeah, we're just more consumed by it today, and, like, just all the saturation of, like, stuff that really isn't that important. And I feel like it is what is leading to our demise. And I do feel like a lot of current 93's music and David Tibet's poetry is conveying that so well. And honestly, I'm so glad that I found this type of music, and I want to be able to just keep experiencing this music and grow, especially with this channel, and just, like, catalog all my music experience. And hey, at some point, maybe I'll just start actually, reviewing other stuff that's not fully within this category. But I do want this channel to be specifically finding those things that, like, hey, what's in the back corner over there? Everyone does their reviews of the most popular album that came out, but, like, what about that stuff no one really pays attention to? That's what I want to do. And but thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's a lot of bantering, a lot of me reminiscing about a lot of stuff, but, again, first video, this is the first basis of how I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna structure the rest of my videos, and hopefully I can be more fluid and more professional, less bantery, get to the points, like, a little bit sooner. But I do feel like I did really just enjoy just talking about this band with you, and, like, specifically analyzing this album. I don't really think there's anyone who's made this much of an analyzation of this album other than Mike Seektown. Shout out to Mike Seektown, and shout out to Dead End Hip Hop. And yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite albums of all time. It has changed my life, and I can't wait to discover, the next thing that affects me even more, just like this album. Listened to this band since 2015, almost literally, like, half a decade, and I still have not gotten through all their discography. But with that said, the rest of this channel's content is going to be based off of, more current 93. I feel like I'll be doing more current 93 videos in the future, just, like, kind of in a streak. And then once I feel like I got into all the current 93 albums that I actually had listened to, then I'm going to, go on to like another band that's like, I feel like, is deserving of the term arcane frequencies. I'm Trey Bell, and I am out. Peace.
There's the odor of essence, and I double in pain as I flick through the past, arrayed on my mind in the room where a bed is. As I gripped in a bag, I'm gripping a hand.